When you live on a ranch as long as I have, you learn to expect a little drama. Flat tires, power outages, even the occasional escaped bull. But nothing, and I mean nothing, prepares you for the day an HOA decides they own your water. It was a dry July morning, hot enough to melt the paint off a tractor. I'd just come in from checking the irrigation lines when I noticed the sound that makes every rancher's stomach drop. Silence. No hum of the pump. No splash of running water from the troughs. I turned the faucet in the kitchen sink. Not a drop. At first, I figured it was a mechanical failure. But when I went out to the wellhead, I found a bright orange padlock clamped on the control box and a laminated HOA notice zip-tied to the pipe. Notice of Utility Compliance Enforcement. Unauthorized water use. Service terminated pending HOA review. I stood there in the heat, jaw tight, reading it twice just to make sure I wasn't hallucinating. Then I saw her SUV cresting the hill. Of course, Karen. She rolled up with her usual smug grin, sunglasses reflecting the dust she'd stirred. "Good morning," she said like we were old friends. "Just performing a compliance audit." "Karen," I said slowly, "why is there a lock on my well?" "Oh, that's not your well anymore," she said. "It's part of the community water table. And according to the HOA charter, all shared groundwater resources must go through us." I blinked. "Shared? Karen, this well's on my property. I drilled it, I maintain it, and it's 300 feet from your nearest boundary." She waved her clipboard dismissively. "Groundwater migrates, dear. We can't have people overusing shared resources. Conservation is key." I took a deep breath and forced a smile. "You realize you just shut off water to my livestock, right? Perhaps next time you'll apply for usage approval," she said sweetly. "I'm sure the board will review your case within the month." "A month?" I repeated. "Karen, it's 95 degrees out. My cattle need water today." She tilted her head. "Then maybe consider downsizing. Smaller farms are better for the environment." And with that, she turned on her heel and drove off, leaving a cloud of dust and one very angry rancher behind. By noon, the tanks were bone dry. I called the sheriff again, Deputy Ruiz. When I told him what happened, there was a long pause on the line. "They locked your well?" "Yep. You know that's a crime, right? Tampering with a water supply." "Oh, I know," I said. "But let's not rush. I've got something better in mind." See, a few years earlier, the county fire department approached me with an interesting offer. My well was one of the largest in the area, fed by a deep, stable aquifer. So I signed a lease allowing them to use it as a secondary emergency water source for rural fire control. Which meant, legally speaking, my well wasn't just mine. It was county infrastructure. That afternoon, I made a quick call to the fire chief. He answered on the second ring. "Hey, this your well over by Timber Creek?" "Still is," I said. "Except the HOA just locked it." Silence. Then, "They what?" "Yup," said they're conserving water. The chief swore so loudly I had to hold the phone away. "That's an emergency supply source. They can't touch that." "Didn't think so," I said, sipping my now warm coffee. "But I figured I'd let the professionals handle it." "We'll handle it all right," he said. "Give us an hour." 55 minutes later, the peace of my ranch was shattered by the sound of sirens. Not one, but 3 engines roaring up the HOA's main road. The fire crews rolled up in full gear, lights flashing, and headed straight for the locked well. Karen came running out of her house, face pale. "What's happening?" The fire chief stepped out, all 6'4" of him holding a bolt cutter. "Ma'am, you interfered with county emergency infrastructure." "That's ridiculous," she snapped. "It's a private well." He cut the padlock clean off. "Not anymore, it isn't. It's designated under the County Emergency Resource Program. You just tampered with a public safety system." Karen stammered. I didn't know." "Doesn't matter," he said. "You're being cited under State Statute 42-09A. That's a felony." Her clipboard slipped from her hands. Within an hour, the sheriff arrived to file the official report. Ruiz looked almost sorry for her. "Almost." "Karen," he said, I think we've had this talk before. You can't just go around enforcing your own laws. But the groundwater isn't yours, he interrupted. You locked a county well. You're lucky the chief isn't pressing for jail time. She went quiet then, staring at the ground like a scolded kid. A week later, the HOA sent me an apology letter. It was probably the most forced thing I'd ever read. We regret any misunderstanding regarding your water usage and deeply value our relationship as neighbors. I framed it right next to the new county-issued, protected infrastructure sign they posted by the wellhead. A bright red notice that read, "Tampering with this facility is a federal offense." A month later, a small grass fire broke out near the ridge. The fire department rolled in within minutes and used, you guessed it, my well to refill their trucks. As the flames died and the smoke cleared, I saw Karen standing at the edge of her yard, watching in stunned silence as the firefighters she'd angered worked efficiently using the very water she'd tried to take. I walked over, nodded politely, and said, "Good thing we conserved some of that groundwater." Huh? She didn't answer, just turned and walked back inside. Now, every time I hear the hum of that pump, it makes me smile. Because my water isn't just mine anymore, it's untouchable. And the best part? The county's new emergency map lists the site name as Karen's Well, Do Not Touch. A fitting reminder that if you mess with a rancher's water, you're the one who ends up in hot water.